you talk on another video about coming to this country, being in an all-white school, and then when your older sister started to date, your dad didn't understand because he said, no, you get married and then you date.
Yeah, my sisters, they broke. I'm so glad I'm the youngest. Are you the youngest to the family?
I am technically either the oldest or the middle, depending if my older half-sister was at the house that weekend.
Okay. Well, she took some of the pain for you, then maybe half the pain. But my sisters, because they were older, my parents were so broken down by the time they got to me. So my sisters did really good work weakening the parental restrictions. They were just, dating. Yeah, my parents had an arranged marriage. They didn't meet each other till they got married. The day of their wedding is when they first saw each other. And then they went on romantic Bollywood movies and walks, and they actually had a wonderful marriage. They were married for 62 years, really happily. So, so when my sister started getting asked out by these California guys, my dad was like, What is that? This is a date. He didn't understand the word date. He thought that it was a fruit that you ate, and he didn't get it. So there was a lot of sibling camaraderie, keeping my dad in the dark as to what was actually happening with the both sisters. As I said, my sisters were both beautiful, so I did a lot of covering there for them. In return, they broke my parents down, so it was a good exchange.
Well, if he was staunchly pro arranged marriage, then he must have got a good one. It must have worked out for him.
He did. He's my mom, and he had a wonderful marriage. Now, of course, my sons are now the age where I don't know what it is with these 20-somethings. None of them date anymore. So I remember my dad saying, I will fix your marriage. And we were like, no way, Dad. Now I'm thinking, Dad had the right idea. I think I could pick a great wives for my sons. But of course, they're not interested in letting me do that. But, oh well.
Well, I think that it half the time that might not be so bad, because I know so many people that pick themselves and pick terrible choices.
Well, yeah, and let me tell you what happens is if I pick their wives and the marriage starts to hit rocky roads, rocky places, and they come to me and say, "Oh gosh, Mom, I'm having a hard time." Well, then I'll get in there. I'll do all I can to fight for it. But if I didn't pick them, then I'll be like, "You picked her, honey. It's your." Yep. I don't know. I wasn't sure. No, I won't do that. I'll totally love future daughter-in-laws. I'll be all in. I promise.
Just to share them, you would have picked them for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I would have for sure. As long as they read
I
children's
think
books.
if I'd married the woman my mom wanted me to marry, my life would be miserable. It would be a terrible
That's
thing.
a good reminder. I only want them to be children's books readers. That's all. That they have to be able to tell me what book they've read recently, and then they'll be fine.
One other question I had about your background, then I want to dig in and talk Rickshaw Girl.
Okay.
Because I'm very excited. Like I said, I had read it, I don't remember how long ago, because I saw it in the classroom. And I was like, Rickshaw Girl, this is interesting. And I'd read it then, and so I was excited to talk to you. And then last night I said I had taught a writing workshop, and then I came home from doing all the student work. Like, all right, it's my time. It's fun. And I reread it, and I'm so excited. But I wanted to ask you, because I saw that you have lived just about everywhere. It might almost be easier to list the places you haven't lived.
Yeah, my dad was a civil engineer, so he worked on ports and harbors. So we moved around a lot with him. And then when I got married, I still had wanderlust. We traveled a lot, lived in Thailand for 3 years, Bangladesh for 3 years. That's when I did the research for Rickshaw Girl, and India. And traveled. But now I'm moving, as I said, moving back to the zip code where my parents bought their first house when we first moved to America. I'm moving 10 blocks away from my mom, who's on her own. So I like to tell people I'm going back to the jute farm. Where we and our boys are going to be really nearby too. So we have this big extended family and walking distance from each other, so I'm going back to my roots on the Bengali jute farm, having my whole family, 3 generations all around, which is be wonderful.
Sounds like the most ideal living situation you could have.
It will be. Especially when the next generation comes. When I'm the grandma, that'll be great. I'm going to be all in.
I wanted to ask about living so many different places and being exposed directly to so many different cultures, not just watching a documentary, but being there, living amongst them. What does that bring to your perspective of humanity, and what does that bring to your writing?
Well, because I grew up between two cultures, and I was doing this what I call code switching. I was cracking the code of California junior high school life and high school life. I was curling my hair, trying to become one of Charlie's Angels, thinking that would miraculously work uh, at school. And then at home, it was traditional jute farm Bengali family. So I had to really master that code. And so because I traveled back and forth almost every day of my life between cultures, I feel like what happens when you do that, even though it's tough as a kid, is that you acquire this ability to code switch that doesn't leave you. And when I travel overseas, I see that it's such a benefit because I can pick up the nuances, the nonverbals, the things that hurt people or make people laugh so much faster than people who grew up monoculturally. And I find that to be a great advantage for me as an adult now. You don't keep all the code switching fluency that kids have, but something about your brain stays keeps a little bit of it. So when I go to a third or fourth culture, it's pretty easy to make myself feel at home because I never felt at home anywhere. So I've learned to make myself feel at home everywhere. And I think that's what I love about traveling is that I really love understanding the nuances and picking up all the ways. Well, I try in my life, try to make people feel loved and cared for. And if I can do that in another culture, it's just so interesting to see how I can make someone feel valued and honored in another culture. It's always a great, fun challenge to do that. So that's one of the reasons I love traveling and living.
So for people that want to go out there and do likewise,
Yeah.
and then they should, that sounds like a great approach. How do you do that? How do you make yourself immediately comfortable in a culture
Mhm.
and find ways to set other people at ease?
It's hard to do when you didn't grow up doing that. When you just grew up within a culture that was just monocultural, it's hard to acquire. It's like acquiring a language as an adult. It takes diligent study and it takes extra work when you're not fluent in code switching. So sorry about that if you're monocultural, but if not, you know what I'm talking about. If you grew up between cultures, you know already you've got that skill. But if you grew up monoculturally, I'd say, and you don't have much money, that's why you read, because then you can imagine your life in another person's skin, and you learn so fluidly. You learn so when you're inside a story, you don't even have to worry about it. When I was in Thailand, had little kids, and I was struggling to learn Thai. It's a tonal language, so and I'm not good at tonal languages. Bengali, my mother tongue, is not tonal, and so what happens in a tonal language is I just got stuck and I was tired. I was a mom, and so my Thai teacher finally figured out that in order for me to learn Thai, she was going to have to use children's books. So one day she brought home Babar in Thai, and another book in Thai, and I began reading those books in Thai, and all of a sudden my Thai just started picking up because that kind of fluency is acquired through reading. So I would say read a ton of books that make you cross borders. If you want to acquire that kind of cultural code switching ability, start with the books. Pick up a book about somebody that's totally from another culture, another language, a translated book maybe, and just dive in. And the more you do that, the better you'll become at this as an adult.